Well, Tarun, thank you so much for helping with my project. I know you work with Space for Humanity and you do a whole bunch of other things, but can you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Tarun Bandemegala, and I am a student here at Wichita State University, and I'm getting a master's degree in biomedical engineering. And for my project and the thesis, I'm working on improving the cognitive abilities of astronauts while they're out in the long duration space missions. So I plan on getting all that fixed and done before we are ready to go to Mars in 33. And
I,
yeah,
I, I
I'm
would be interested in improving my own cognitive abilities. I was wondering if you had some suggestions.
I wish I could answer those questions at this point. I'm just identifying how to record what kind of thoughts are being processed at this point of time. So once I know how to record and know that this is exactly what an astronaut is going through, I can then work on finding solutions to that. And in the future, I'm also interested in working on space habitats so that any human that goes out into space is not completely out of the loop. So they don't have to depend on Earth for resources.
And talk a little bit about your involvement with Space for Humanity.
Sweet. So with I have been working on and off with Space for Humanity since over a year now. Since August 2019 is since I'm a part of Space for Humanity. Initially, I was working on just the applications and how like reading the applications and make like scoring the applications that we received in the round one. And right now, I am a leadership intern over there, which means I am actually looking up the information of the different people that could collaborate with Space for Humanity in the future and take the entirety of humanity into space in the next 10 years.
I, yeah, and I recently saw that NASA put out a request for um, somebody to help maybe film or be part of you know creating a virtual reality type of experience for the Artemis mission so that people here on Earth would feel like they went with the astronauts. Um, have you seen anything about that?
So I'm not sure about that project that you just mentioned, but I'm sure I do know about something called as Suits. It's a competition by NASA, which through which NASA is providing all the different schools that get selected through their proposal. They will be sending a Microsoft HoloLens too, so that the participating team, if they're selected, they can design an augmented reality system that could be projected onto the astronauts' visors later into the future so that these astronauts can use those augmented, like mixed reality stuff to essentially get their way done. And it's really cool because if you are an astronaut out on the moon where there's no markers or no paved paths, you need to locate yourself spatially about where exactly you are with respect to the landing zone or your space habitat. So these things will essentially help create an artificial path that is projected on the land in front of you so that you can safely get to your destination without losing your way, which is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen. I mean, I've tried the Microsoft HoloLens, but I've also seen some of the promotional materials. Like they have one instance of, perhaps you're trying to fix your sink and somebody can actually tell you what to turn and what to do underneath it. So it allows for uh, people out to provide expertise to somebody in a situation like you're pointing out about figuring out the path. And that kind of, and talking about your Mars mission, um, one thing that has become more and more apparent to me as I research space and talk to people is how much support like the International Space Station and the astronauts on it get from the Earth. Like there's a there's a whole engineering team set up just to monitor the solar panels and make sure they're getting the maximum amount of light. Anytime an astronaut has a problem, there's like dozens or maybe even hundreds of engineers and other people here on Earth that go to work to solve that problem and give them, very uh, the step-by-step instructions on how to do stuff, which the HoloLens to help with. But you know, as a mission is going to Mars and that time delay goes from being, milliseconds to seconds to minutes to, tens of minutes, that ability to be supported by the team of people on the Earth becomes more and more diminished. And the more you have to make sure you have the skills on the rocket with you because everybody else is literally not there. Um, and which maybe it's why we need them to be super geniuses, which you'll figure out, and they'll be good.
Well, there's a simple, very simple fix to that, to the time delay problem that you just mentioned. Uh, we have space analogs, and I'm an analog astronaut myself. And we create scenarios here on Earth where things could potentially go wrong, and we can have the data. And the one good thing about the technology right now is that we have so much going on, especially the data centers that we have right now can have the ability to store like trillions and trillions of tons of gigabytes of data in small spaces. So what we could essentially do is carry a small data bank which has all of these pre-recorded simulations loaded onto them. So if an astronaut is in need of a certain thing, all they have to do is they just have to access that one data bank through their HoloLens, and that will essentially get them up to speed with the procedure that they want to do. Unless it's too complicated or if it's too new, it should be available if it's a general procedure because that's what practice is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess the real tricky part is the time it's most critical is when everything's not going to plan, and where you
Absolutely.
really need the judgment and the expertise.
That's why we will send the best.
But so about going to the moon, when did you find out that we were going to the moon in 2024?
um, 2019, just last year. Um, I am always into the space scene, and I love the space exploration and the space activities. And as soon as the Artemis missions were announced, uh, I had, luckily, I had a chance to be at different conferences where most of these NASA delegations were present. And I'm not talking about just anyone from NASA. I'm talking about Jim Bridenstine, and I'm talking about the head of Langley and these other people who were there to show that NASA is already interested in putting man on the moon again, and this time to stay. That was fantastic. And they also talked about how the commercial partnerships that they have right now will help them get to their goals successfully, and providing these commercial players some key platforms that they can support is absolutely essential, and that's where I think NASA is putting all its focus on. Is it's just providing the platform where these commercial entities can develop all these different new technologies and uh, make space race more interesting this time.
Well, I'm really excited about us going back to the moon too. I all the energy around it, and um, I mean, I think there's so much more to learn on the moon, and there's definitely more to do, like in terms of proving out resources and building things, and you could put structures on the moon, and you don't have to worry about them running into each other or polluting the orbital environment around Earth, and sort of build as you can. So that's kind of neat.
Mhm,
But back during George Bush's administration, there was the vision for space exploration, which
mhm,
its plan was to go back to the moon, build a moon base, test out the technologies needed to go to Mars. And then the Obama administration came in and decided, to shift directions, and instead we'll get the asteroid redirect, and we'll go and look at this asteroid that we've put around the Earth. And then Trump comes in and says, the moon is where it's at, and Artemis gets fired up, and what have you. And now we have the Biden administration coming in, and Jim Bridenstine has told a reporter from, I think, Air and Space, that he doesn't plan on staying on as part of the next administration. And he gives a lot of. I mean, I was hoping he would stay on and that he would continue to push, but he says, he feels like NASA needs to be led by somebody that the president trusts and can work closely with the president, and that it'd be better for the agency for them to have somebody that felt like a full part of the administration as opposed to an outsider that just stayed on. So, I mean, I tend to think that, I mean, I've met Jim Bridenstine one time. I got one picture with him. I have no close relationships, but we were born in the same year. I will say that. Uh, so, as my birth year brother person, I feel a little close to him. Um, but I'm just wondering, what happened to Artemis and us going to the moon as part of this shift in the administration? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, every administration has their own goals, but one thing I admired about Jim Bridenstine is that he had that magic where he could convince the commander in chief to get him to work with the space agency, and this kind of positive, upbeat attitude in NASA wasn't seen uh, of late. After the space shuttle retired, it was just us depending on Russia to send the astronauts, American astronauts, to International Space Station, and the whole human exploration part of the NASA element kind of was beginning to lose touch, and a lot of people began their interest in robotic exploration of different, not just places around Earth, but also at the edge of our solar system. New Horizons is one such good example. So whatever the approach by each administration, I think there's some really good uh, information that we got to learn out of each administration's decisions. And I think that whatever this particular administration chooses to do will also help in a good way. And as far as I'm aware of at this point of time, I think Biden administration still wants to continue uh, to Moon and Mars. I think what they are working on is just the timeline. Is it going to be in 2024 or is it going to be later? So that's one thing that's up in the air, and I don't think I'm qualified enough to make an educated guess on that one particular thing.
Yeah, I just wonder uh, if we do good keeping the goal of 2024, even though we all know that that would be pushing things, in
Hmm.
the hopes that it happens in 2025, 2026, or 2027. I feel like if we make the goal 2028, then really it may not happen at all. It may be 2030, 2035. Um, you know, you're my age, interviewing other people your age, going, "Hey, what do you think about us going back to the moon?" And the whole cycle continues.
Gotcha. Yeah, I actually, well, I think the one thing that's holding us back right now with keeping the 2024 timeline is money. And I think this is what it all comes down to: human landing system, the HLS. And last I've seen, NASA was asking the Congress to allocate a certain amount of money before 2024 so that they can make that 2024 happen. But the Congress wants to give a lesser amount because they had to deal with a whole pandemic, and a lot of borrowing is going on, and nobody expected a pandemic to happen when they announced Artemis missions. And so a lot a lot of different factors are weighing in on making the 2024 happen. It ultimately depends on the person that's making these calls. If they want to borrow more money and make this happen by 2024, it is a possibility. It is still very within our reach. It's just that this one person that is making these calls have to decide if they want to make it happen or not.
But I feel like some things have changed since the last time that we talked about getting the moon. First of all, we're a lot farther along. Last
Hmm.
time, we only had rockets that were on paper. Now we actually have a rocket that's being tested in,
Hmm.
Alabama.
Hmm.
Um, and the human landing system, we have three teams really working on developing them. Two of them have delivered mock-ups
Hmm.
of, uh, their full size but not full fidelity mock-ups of what they want, to do training and what have you. Had the national team, which is led by Blue Origin, which is kind
Hmm.
of interesting thing because Blue Origin has for the past 20 years had a very interesting funding model. Jeff Bezos would sell $1 billion of his Amazon stock, and that would fund the company. And this year, he sold $10 billion of his stock. So and they're hiring like crazy. Like I've interviewed maybe three or four Blue Origin people, and I mean, I think I get the feeling that Jeff plans to build the human landing system regardless of what happens with Congress. Like he really wants to do it, and I think unfortunately the Congress might feel the same way. Uh,
Uh, yeah, I totally agree with that. I think all these private players coming into the space race game, and them taking the control of how they want to get things done, it introduces a lot of other challenging questions. But again, as long as they are bound to certain guidelines, um, any and all innovation should be well appreciated and accepted, because we are all doing this as one humanity. And I know there's a lot of capitalism and commercial aspect associated with everything that we do. But even with all that, I don't think anyone should lose sight of why we're doing this in the first place. And Jeff Bezos does it, or NASA does it, or Elon Musk does it, doesn't matter. I mean, yes, it's good for them, but when it comes to talking about entirety of the human race, it's benefiting us all, not just one person in particular.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I presume you're excited about us going back to the moon. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I am excited about Moon, Mars, and hopefully beyond that.
The vast majority of people I talk to who aren't in the space community have no clue we're going back to the moon. And I was wondering, does that surprise you?
Not really, mainly because I am surrounded uh, by a community that is not interested in space. I am from Wichita, where the focus of entire Wichita community is on airplanes and manufacturing. So, so they are very content with the way that they live, and I don't see anything wrong with being happy with where you are. I just think that the curiosity that the space usually creates is missing in most. This is not just, I am from India, and this is not just here in the US that I'm seeing this. Uh, Even in India, especially when you talk to someone that's well, that's not really connected with the space community in any way. They do know about a lot of space stuff that's going on through the newspapers and news channels, but again, they're not interested in being a part of that spacefaring community. So I think it all comes down to education and talking about how space can help us. So one thing that I would definitely would like to see, especially this is one thing that we're doing at Space for Humanity. We want the people that can address, we want ambassadors that can work to educate the people in their community to get excited about space. And that's one thing that collectively, if we put our brains to it, I'm pretty sure that we can all be excited about the moon, the Mars, and I'm pretty sure that this will all change if we actually put a man on the moon in 2024. Things are definitely going to come back to normal, where everyone is absolutely excited about going to space and becoming an astronaut and everything. That's nice.
Well, I should tell you, happy Diwali.
Oh, thank you. Wish you the same.
Thanks. I'm actually going to a Diwali get together at a friend's house later this afternoon. So, uh,
That's great. Yeah, I am supposed to be going to my friend's place for a Diwali get together outside because around here the COVID is kind of catching on. So we want to keep everyone safe. So we just moved the entire thing to a park instead of just indoors.
yeah, I should show you. We did some, what is it? Ronguli? Is that what you call it? Let's see.
Rangoli. Yeah,
Rongoli? What do you think?
that's beautiful. Did you do that?
No, no, a friend of mine did it.
Gotcha. That's just gorgeous. It's beautiful.
I agree. I agree. If I do anything, I'm going to do it in this corner where nobody would see it, just in case it turns out to be bad. And then as I get better from year to year, I'll move closer to the entrance. That'd be my
That's awesome.
that'd be my
And
plan.
I really like that whoever did that did it to the side so that when people are taking a step, they don't step on it and spoil it. So that was a very well thought work.
Definitely. Um, yeah. So Team Indus, have you heard of them?
No, I did not. Oh, wait, Team Indus? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did. I did.
Yeah,
I did, but I don't think they're functional anymore. But
I know. I know. I was so excited about them getting that lander to go on the moon and all the stuff that he did, and it looked like I think they were going to do a partnership with like Orbit Beyond at some point, and
mhm,
then
mhm.
basically there was an issue with requirements for the lander being built so much in the U.S. versus other places, and
Mm-hmm.
what have you. But yeah, I mean, I was like, I mean, you talk about a way to get. Uh, I mean, India has so many. Well, maybe this is not the correct way to say it. Maybe the correct way to say it is, so many great engineers come from India. Or have Indian roots. It was kind of neat to be able to see um, see them actually participate hands-on with landing something on the moon.
This is one thing that I have been thinking about a lot, and I want to put some work towards it so that this actually happens. Because India as a nation has 1.3 billion people, and that's not a joke. It's a huge population, and with huge population, there's also a huge potential that comes with the population itself. And with such a load of potential that where most of them are built already to be an engineer and they're working to be an engineer, it 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 just baffles me that there's not enough resources or there's not enough direction put into the resources, that this potential is not being utilized to its fullest. So that's one thing I would like to see happen in the future, and possibly be a part of bringing that change in the community too.
I, I do a lot with in and around the Indian community,
Mm-hmm.
and I have some observations I was wanting to get your take on.
Sure.
I feel like you know, inside the Indian community, their status is a very big thing, and having a sort of like having sort of like career ambitions that are understood by the community is sort of a requirement. Like you
Mm-hmm.
need to have that social acceptance. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be a doctor or an engineer or an accountant, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that great. Everybody understands that. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want to do something that's different from that, you know, like uh, you know, start a business mining the moon and making stuff on the moon, or space-based solar power, or you know, creating like uh, you know, something that there isn't already like an example to point to, then
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to do that in any community. But for sure, but it just seems to me that it's really especially difficult in like the Indian community because
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, you get like this sort of feedback of you can only do things that other people understand that makes sense. I mean, I was wondering if you saw the same thing, or is that a mischaracterization?
Well, I do understand the question that you're asking, and as you pointed out, this communal acceptance is uh, cross country, cross language thing that happens across the globe, irrespective of what place you're located. And I completely agree with that. And yes, you're right. It is especially prevalent in India. And this is mainly because of few reasons I would like to point out. One is that uh, most of the space excitement and the space race, the language of communication used is English. And with English being a second language in India, it's really hard to get the message across and receive the same kind of messages back, because even though most of the Indian population is taught in English and can speak the language, they do have a very thick accent associated with the language itself. And if the person that is hearing the thick accent is not able to understand or communicate exactly what's going on with the people on the other end, you take the communication out, and that nothing exists, because the person that's trying to read it, you know, because uh, I've seen a lot of people in India who have shown a lot of interest towards space, but they do not have enough resources or enough information about how to get to the point of getting it done. And uh, not just that, even the people that are around in that community do not have any information to give to that person who is interested. And case in point, I am one such example. I was always interested in space, and I did struggle a lot to get more information because I was that one person who was interested in space, uh, but not many people around me had that same ideas. And I got fortunate enough that my family chose to send me to the US to get that right knowledge. And not many people are as lucky as I am. And it just boils down to where how can I, after receiving all this knowledge, can translate it to the communities in India, and how can people like me do the same? And I hopefully can give back to the community in the near future, in the next 5 years, once I have enough credibility and enough knowledge. And I hope to do that soon. So let's see how it goes in the next decade.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Just having the information in your own native language
Mm-hmm.
uh, could help to remove some of the barrier, just being able
Mm-hmm.
to access it. And, also like here in the US, we don't have many, but we do have a few like cartoons that are around like space and futuristic, right? You got like the Jetsons, and you got
Yes.
like Jimmy Neutron, and you
Mm-hmm.
have Dexter's Laboratory and things like that. Um, are there similar types of cartoons in India?
Well, we don't have different cartoons. We have the same ones. I grew up watching Dexter's Laboratory. I grew up watching the Jetsons. I grew up watching Flintstones and every other classic cartoon that there is. Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, you name it. And the thing about one good thing about this is that the all these cartoons uh, were available in different Indian languages, which made it accessible to a lot of people in their own native language. So, so I grew up curious, and I grew up laughing at the antiques that were done by Dee in Dexter's Laboratory, and yeah, all the drama that goes on, the simple kind of drama that goes on in the other cartoons. Uh, so I am not sure about what kind of cartoons are being shown to the kids at this point of time, because I've not been a kid since a while now. So I'm pretty sure that showing these cartoons and having the kids develop an interest and maintain that same interest across, because even if a kid has an interest, most kids in India even dream of being an astronaut at the age 7. But fast forward to 15 years later, they are working in an IT sector, and they are an engineer or a doctor who's just content with what they have. So something's happening between that 7 and 20 that's changing most of these equations. So again, that's just uh, feeding information to the interest is what's lacking, and I believe that once that's fixed, there's enough information available for everyone to access. Pretty sure that things are going to change in the direction where more people will be interested in space exploration and other activities related to space.
Do you think if we had, I mean, the thing is, even though it's in like Hindi or Telugu or Tamil or you know um, or one of the other 20 different Indian languages, um,
Mm-hmm.
it still doesn't show any Indians doing these things, right? I mean, these are non-Indian people. Um, do you think it would allow for kids to better connect with it if they actually saw people that sort of had a
that
life similar to them, you know?
that they could relate with.
Yeah.
Yeah, so uh, recently there's been a lot of movies that are coming along, which are showing Indian astronauts in the near future, because right now ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, is currently, aiming for launching a man into space. Well, two men into space, but so taking all these into account and making movies about them, generalizing that space is awesome and people can get all of these done is absolutely crucial. Yes, this keeps the interest alive. Uh, like as I've been saying for the past three answers, well, interest is a good thing, but interest without access to the ways through which they can achieve their interest is a whole different ball game, and that is the one key sector that's lacking. And there's a lot of people in India right now that are working to improve that, and different universities are working to solve these barriers. And I'm really glad to see where these things are going. And it is a very slow process, and like we were just discussing, it is the private sector that is bringing this kind of knowledge about space exploration to the Indian community, just like it is doing here in the US. SpaceX and Blue Origin are the ones that are taking a very lead role in uh, making space more exciting, and the rivalry between them and all that is getting more and more people excited about space. And similarly, things are catching pace in India. But the one good thing about that I've seen is that they are very uh, interactive with each other, and there's not much of a competition, but it's more of an encourage that I want to go first, catch me if you can kind of attitude. So it's it's a very healthy competition that's going on, and I hope it is that way for longer.
Um, so I was wondering if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space? Oh, you're back. Oh, but you're on mute. I think it
Yeah.
automatically mutes whenever people join. It seems like you got disconnected, but I heard most of that about the private sector is the one that's helping to educate and inspire, and that they're doing it cooperatively and not competitively, trying to get ahead and catch me if you can.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I was curious though, if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
Yes, yes. I wanted to be an astronaut since I was a kid, and that's exactly why I'm here in the US. Because uh, while, like I said, I was fortunate enough to go to the bigger schools that had access to more information and access to the teachers that knew a little bit more about pointing in a certain direction. And so I just tried looking up the people that were in the space related fields in India. I called them, I talked to them, and they said that, well, this India doesn't have this kind of technology at this moment, so I think you should go to the US or some other country that has this kind of technology. And I wanted to come here to the US and learn about all things space related since I was 15. And I'm here, I'm learning, and I just hope that this kind of education and this kind of technology was available in India, because most Indian education system is mostly affordable by the students over there. And making it affordable is also one other key element that I would be very curious to see happen.
Um, how far would you go? Are you thinking like a suborbital flight, a week in orbit, 2 weeks to the moon and back, or a multi-year journey to Mars? Or would you immigrate to Mars to stay there forever? Like, what's your thoughts?
I would like to, well, try them all, of course. Uh, First, go to the space, go to the International Space Station. Suborbital flight is good for training, but I don't think it's a flight worthy experience to call myself an astronaut because I'm not even doing anything while I'm in the flight. So suborbital flights are really good for touristy purposes to say that, hey, I've seen Earth from space and flaunt how much money I have in the bank account. But to actually conduct a scientific experiment while being out in space, I think going into low Earth orbit is one of the key things. And I would like to start with a low Earth orbit, then to the moon, and then to Mars and back. And staying on Mars, that's an iffy question because I am not really sure how to answer that question at this point of time. But yes, I would definitely love to be one of the first crews that ever visits Mars. I know the risks, and I know that I could probably be the one that could probably just stay there forever and not in a good way. And even taking all of that into account, I am absolutely excited for going to Mars and seeing what kind of things that we could achieve while on Mars that we couldn't do on Earth. Because space exploration at its heart is about finding new places to explore and seeing how that place could help us as the human species, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Um, let's see. How safe would it have to be before you go? Would you be willing to sign up today, or do you need a certain number of people to go ahead of you?
I am pretty sure that I would sign up today. And the reason I say that is because I am working on improving some of the things that will keep an astronaut safe. And I would like to be that one person that is responsible for not just my safety, but the safety of my crew that I will be going with to Mars. And I just would love to be that person that helps keep everything safe, at least in terms of habitat, so that when we go to Mars, we are safe. And I hope the person that's handling all the rockets doesn't kill us because that's not on my control. But yeah, so I would like to be one of the first people that is going to Mars because I trust myself on a lot more things than most other people. And yeah, I am trying to build my endurance by taking long road trips here and seeing how my body can adapt to different situations, especially driving long distances. Like, example, this year I drove 6,800 miles uh, just to see how long I can take it and how far I can drive and all that. So it's pretty cool. I am planning on doing an entire driving around the globe in 100 days pretty soon. So let's see how that pans
Oh,
out.
how will you do that? Is there like a ferry that goes across the Bering Strait and
Yes,
then
yes, there are few. I need to hop onto a few cruises and ferries, which will connect me from one part of landmass to another. But starting from Cape Town, there's two different roads that lead all the way to Oblast, Russia, which is close to the Bering Strait, which connects to Alaska. And the strait that you're talking about is totally up north, and the place that I'm talking about, Magadan, is to the south. That place is the last harbor that's fully built, and which is connected to a road. And there's a single road stretch that connects all the way from Cape Town to Magadan. So that's pretty cool. And driving down from Alaska, there's again few different places down in Panama that I have to be taking, but it's gonna be one cool journey. But I'm trying to see how to include Australia and other Southeast Asian countries into this entire plan that I'm working on. So it's still about a couple of years away. So let's see if it works out in my favor.
Wow, I just it seems like you had to go through a lot of countries where the security situation is challenging.
Yes, it is. So instead of having to drive through Syria and other places a, where there's a lot of tension at this current point of time, there's another road that actually goes through Morocco and Spain, and well, there's a small strait that I have to cross through a ferry between Morocco and Spain, and once once a person starts driving from Spain, there's a single road that connects uh, through Europe into Russia. So there's easy access to skip that entire region that's very unstable at this current point of time.
Will you pick up translators along the way to drive with you just in case you need some help, or how do you plan to do that?
Um, I plan to rely on technology, and I know this is not the best way, but I do plan to have a satellite phone uh, with me at all times, and a GPS navigation that is connected at all times so that I'm not lost in a remote area in an unknown location. So the way that I plan to do it is by approaching a manufacturer that builds these cars, because I plan on using just one vehicle throughout. And one problem with having one vehicle throughout is the maintenance that comes along with it, because I will be driving over 50,000 miles in 100 days. There needs to be constant maintenance that needs to happen to this vehicle before I could make it run for so long without all these things. So, uh, identifying a manufacturer that is located in significant locations across the roads that I will be taking, and making sure that I am well connected with all these centers that I plan on making these stops, and having the vehicle, and making sure that, because the vehicle will be my home for 100 days, uh, taking care of the vehicle would be taking care of myself. And there's a lot of things that I am yet to jot down and approach people, because I am not a professional that does this. So a company that is trusting me with such uh, bold claims will be a huge deal to essentially go forward to as well. So I need to establish myself as someone who could be relied on, and only then I plan to do something like this.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe a Tesla Cybertruck, and you could have Starlink hooked up on the top, so you would have continuous high-speed internet access wherever you were, and you could live stream the whole thing and build a little place to live in the back of the Cybertruck.
That is a very great idea until we start thinking about how many power ports, like how many power ports there are across the globe along this way. So,
Yeah,
uh,
but I think even that could be managed because what you would do is bring a gas generator with you
mhm,
to charge up in places where electricity charging weren't available.
mhm,
And then, through Europe, you won't have any problems with the charging, and through the US, you won't have any problems. I
right,
don't know about Canada and that stretch along Alaska or Russia.
mhm,
And Africa, you might have some trouble too, but Latin America might be possible. But I mean, you're probably what 2 or 3 years away from doing this, and the
yes,
number of chargers out there is increasing. And I mean, it could be, and a gas generator isn't that much. 100 days might be trouble with the charging times on the gas generator because you won't have the supercharging capabilities.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, also another thing is you could actually run the gas generator while you're running the car, so you could charge and go at the same time, uh, and hook up to the grid. Um,
Now that
yeah.
is a absolutely new idea that I did not even plan to think of. So that would I'm definitely going to consider Tesla Cybertruck now that you've planted that in my head, and I'm pretty sure Elon would be someone that will be excited to see someone take the Cybertruck and show that this truck is capable of doing cross world trip without issues. So yeah, that's a fantastic new idea. That thank you so much, Nathan.
I, I can't wait to see it. The live streaming of your trip.
Absolutely, I am excited about the trip at this point, and I hope that I can make it happen in the next few years.
And the Cybertruck looks almost like a military vehicle, so it could potentially both ward off problems and bring them to you, depending upon the types of people you run into. So there's that too.
Yes, but from what Elon claimed, this particular thing has bulletproof glass and is very sturdy. So I I hope that comes in my favor. Excuse me.
Absolutely. Well, that's pretty much all the questions I had. Was there something you want to talk about that we didn't get to?
Um, well, I do not have any particular thoughts in that particular way, but I just so what I wanted to say is, well, I didn't plan on saying this, but here's what you are doing something right now that is taking all of our thoughts and sending them to the moon uh, pretty soon whenever like that is astroscale is planning whenever astroscale is planning on sending them, and I think that is a absolutely great way of connecting all the different people. Even though we are not connected personally, we will be in that same tiny piece of data bank, which will go all the way to the moon. And we are connected in space in that way. So thank you very much for doing this. And uh, yeah, so I just wish that a lot more people looked at the stars and wondered a lot more than they do right now. So that's it from me. Thank you.
I share your wish, and you know, on your 100-day trip, maybe make it 300 days and stop and stay a while and bring a telescope and have people look through it.
Oh, I do have a telescope right now, and I do that. Okay, I've actually taken my telescope all the way to Colorado from Kansas. I drove 7 hours into the mountains of Colorado just so I could have a peaceful time with the nature and connect myself with the cosmos. So I do impromptu stuff like this quite often. So it's it's pretty exciting to see if the entirety of humanity will be interested in space exploration uh, through some of these missions. And by looking at all the different things that are going on right now, especially with when astronauts Bob and Doug went up to space recently. That was the most viewed event in human history after like so many years. So I'm really excited that people are getting excited, more and more excited about space, and I can't wait to see how they would react to the Crew One launch on Sunday tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that too. Each each group that goes successfully up to space and back on the SpaceX Dragon is brings me one more person closer to my wife saying it's okay for me to go.
Yes, making space accessible to everyone is also one cool aspect of everything that we're doing right now, and I hope that's a reality in the next few decades.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope you follow through with your 100-day journey. That will be a memory of a lifetime, and maybe you could bring a good friend with you too. It's always fun to share such experiences.
Absolutely, and well, it was fun talking to you, and uh, I had one last question for you.
Sure.
So, since today was the last day that you are accepting for applications for the first round of Astroscale, would this be on the first round or?
Well, several interesting things. So my calculation of which ones would go on the micro SD card was based upon the date I ordered the moon box, the
Mm-hmm,
amount of time that they said it would take to get to me, which is like 4 to 8 weeks, and the
mm-hmm,
fact that they said I had to get it back to them within 60 days of having received it. So
mm-hmm,
doing all that math and adding in a little flex time, I came up with November 15th as being like the cutoff day, but I still
mm-hmm,
haven't received the moon box yet, which means that 60 days hasn't started. I emailed Astrobotic about it yesterday and they said they'll mail it to me before the end of November. So it looks like I'll be able to get all of December and maybe even a week or two in January on the micro SD card before I have to send it to them. And it should be on their lander that's going late summer, early fall of 2021. So
that's fantastic. I'm so happy to be on the part of this journey all the way to the moon. Just my thoughts and yours. So, well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to uh, connect with so many people around the globe and fly all the way to the moon.
and I have plenty of other spots open in December. So if other people still want to get in on the flight, please pass it around.
I have few friends that would be absolutely interested in doing this. I'm gonna forward the email that I received in the beginning to these people, and I hope they reach back to you and talk to you soon. It was great meeting you.
It was good meeting you too. Have a good rest of your day and happy Diwali and best wishes.
Thank you so much, Nathan. You have a very happy rest of your day too.
Bye bye.
Bye.